Looks like Mr. Back is connected to audio. So welcome everyone. Mr. Back, are you with us? If so, if you could unmute. Mr. Back, you'll need to unmute.
Okay.
Great. Hi, welcome. First off, thank you to everyone for being flexible on moving the timing of this hearing today. It allowed me to finish up a Board of Housing Appeals hearing that I was staffing, and so I appreciate your flexibility on that. I'm going to go ahead and get everyone checked in. So we have the applicant, Dennis Back. Welcome. We have Wes Munzel from the zoning department is here as well. Welcome, Wes.
Morning.
Morning. And then I have someone under the name Thomas or Tomas.
Yes, Tomas.
Great. Mr. Tomas, could you provide me your last name, please?
Yeah, Espina, E-S-P-I-N-A.
Okay, and are you the owner on the project?
I'm the owner of the house across the street from the proposed project.
Gotcha. Okay. Could you spell? I'm sorry. Could you spell your last name for me?
Sure. E-S-P as in Paul, I-N-A.
Got it. Espina.
Yep, Espina. Bless you.
Thank you. Tried to mute myself there. Okay. So, Mr. Back, are we expecting anyone else to join us here?
David, I have Andrew Green, who's the owner of the property, currently lives in the property, he's the owner of the property. He's with me. He's with me right now. So if we need him, he's available if we have questions for Andrew.
Gotcha. You said he's the owner of the property?
Yes, he's the owner of the property and he currently lives in the property.
Got it. Okay, great. So let's go ahead then and get started. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the November 1st, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. Again, I'll be presiding over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20230154. The address is 1041 Celestial Street. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Anyone from the public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll hear from the zoning department, Wes Munzel. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. So at this point, I'd like to swear in all of our witnesses. So anyone that's in the hearing here today that intends on providing any testimony, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, you know now that you'd like to provide some testimony. If you could raise your right hand. I need everyone to be on screen when they take this oath. If they're not certain whether they want to testify, I can swear them in later, but if you know you'd like to provide something, I'd like to collectively swear you all in now. Need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. And Mr. Green, you're fine to be off screen, but when you do want to provide testimony, I'd ask that you just shift the camera over. You or Mr. Back switch places.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Mr. Back, are you ready to proceed?
Yes. Thank you for your time today, and thank Wes for all his time and help with this. We've been probably working on this project a year and a half, And I met with West several times to make sure we understood and were interpreting the hillside, um, the hillside envelope. We were interpreting things correctly. And we did make, based on some of those meetings, we did make some changes to our plans. Also, during that time period, we met with the property owners on both sides of our property. We had meetings with them and went over the drawings very early on. We also had several meetings with the building committee from the Mount Adams Civics Association, address their concerns. So we've done our homework. We didn't meet with the neighbor across the street. I think it's Tomas. We did not meet with him. His house is directly across the street from us. Is an intersection, is a street, and there's an intersection right in front of our house. Left, there's a big parking lot. And Tomas's house is to the right, and there's a big tree in his side yard that kind of shields his view, and he doesn't sit higher in our house, and there's kind of a big tree that shields his view. So we did not meet with him. Let's see here, we had this is I don't know if you can see this or not. I don't know if you can see that's Tomas's house across the street. From standing in front of our house looking, there's a tree in front, his house is to the right. But we did not meet with him, but we did meet with the property owners on both sides of our house. If you look at the sheet A1 of our submittal, the existing house, our existing footprint of our proposed house is very similar to the new house. The front is almost identical spot as the new house is almost in the exact front setback as the existing house. The rear of the house stops almost exactly where the existing house does. The side of the house, the west side of the house, is actually in a little bit further from the property line. We have a little bigger setback. And the east side, or the left side of the house, the east side, we are a little closer to the property line, but the footprint is very similar. There is a little bit more cut on ours. The swimming pool is generally in the same area as the existing pool.
Mr. Beck, Mr. Beck, sorry to interrupt. If you wouldn't mind, just for the record, if you could do like a little table setting here, like what are you exactly proposing to do here? What's the relief you're requesting? Stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I just want to get it on the record.
Okay, we're proposing a new single-family house with a 4-car garage. I do want to mention we have a 70-foot wide lot, which for Mount Adams is very unusual. That's 2 or 3 times larger.
Right. So there's an existing home on the property. Is that right?
Yes, there's an large existing single family with a swimming pool in the backyard.
So is the plan to completely demolish that home?
Yes, the plan would be to completely remove that house and build a new house.
Okay, got it.
In the same location. With the new house, we would be increasing the off-street parking. Right now, the existing house has a 2-car garage and room for probably 2, maybe 3 cars in front, in the driveway in front. We would have the new proposal is a 4-car garage, split into 2 garages, split into 2 sides. It almost reads like a townhouse if you couple townhouses if you drive by from the front, with 4 off-street parking. So we're increasing the off-street parking spaces, which in that neighborhood is very important. The new house would be 3 stories. Each story, the second floor would step back from the first floor in the front and back. The second floor steps back from the first floor, and the third floor steps back from the second floor. So each floor that you go up, the footprint gets smaller on the house. we went with a flat roof on the house. One, for aesthetics. Two, we end up with actually a lower roof than if we, and Wes can correct me if I'm wrong, if we went with a pitch roof, we could actually have the ridge of the roof would actually be higher than if we went with a flat roof. So there were a couple reasons that we went with a flat roof on the house. To keep the overall top of the roof down lower. We need some of the variances requested. Most of them are relatively small variances. The rear yard, we're requesting a 3.5-foot variance from the average of 53 feet, 53.8. The left side yard, that would be the east side yard. We're asking for a 2.7 foot variance from the average of 8.7. The front setback, that's one that we're asking for probably a larger, we're asking for relief of 18.5 feet. And the reason for that on the front setback is the house to the east of us is set back, I believe, almost 51 feet. So that throws it off. We're right within a foot or so of the average of the next 4 houses going up to the west of us. We're with probably a foot or so, our front yard average setback with those. And if you go further to the east, past 1033, those houses are pretty much right on the sidewalk. So we felt that if you look at the Cages map, you'll see that our proposed front setback lines up very close to the next 4 houses going up the street, and it's almost exactly where the front setback of the existing house was. Let's see, the relief on the height, we're asking for we're asking for relief of 3.8 feet at the front facade over the allowable 35 feet. And in the back, because our lot steps back, when you do the envelope, we need a little bigger setback at the back of the house because the grade at the back house is lower. So we're asking for a 5.8 foot relief for the height of the house in the back. Cut and fills, cumulative cut and fills, we're asking for, our cumulative is 14 feet, so we need a relief of 6 feet. Overall, a lot of our cut in the house has already been done by the existing house and swimming pool. So it's not like this is a brand new cut. Probably 2/3 of that cut is already there from the house and the pool we're removing. The driveway width, we have 2 separate driveways. We need a relief for the second driveway. We need a variance for the second. You're allowed 20-foot driveway. So we need a relief at 20 foot for our second driveway. And then we have some bay windows up on the second floor of the front. We have 2 bay windows. Those bay windows are allowed to be I believe, 1/3 of the width of the front of the house. So we need a 7-foot width relief for the 2 bay windows. And I believe, Wes, correct me if I miss anything, but I believe that's the relief we're asking for in this house. So I don't think any of them are really major reliefs are really out of line with what else has been down there. There's another house that has 2 driveways, 2 or 3 houses up the street. I don't think we're asking for anything that's out of line if you would do the envelope, apply the envelope theory to other houses in the neighborhood. This will be owner occupied. We feel it's a major help for the neighborhood, for the property values, aesthetically for the property values. We think it's a plus for the neighborhood.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say right now?
Andrew, is there anything you would like to add? No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Espina,
Sure.
if you'd go ahead and activate your camera for me.
Okay.
All right. What would you like to tell me?
Yeah, so it's a multiple things that I guess I want to bring up, and I think Mr. Flagg kind of brought it up, is the fact that nobody really approached me, and I think they assumed just because I have a tree that it will be actually trimmed down significantly. After speaking with Madison Tree earlier in the summer, that's something that's actually in the plans. I do have views actually from both actually my second floor and third floor where I actually work from home through. One of the things that I've noticed, the fact that is the notice felt a bit rushed. I literally just got the notice just over a week before this actually came up for the hearing. So I felt like it was just rushed. Again, no one approached me as the homeowner across the street. Which I do believe is going to affect my, I guess, the layout of the house, but also the views of the house. The height variance as well as the setback variance it's willing definitely affect the views that I currently have. And like I said, I work from home from the third floor, and that's pretty much the views that I have that would pretty much be blocked by the new variance ask. And obviously some potential unknowns that we just don't know exactly what's going to come up after or during the construction. We believe that the property is large enough where it could actually be built within the boundaries of the property. Mr. Beck mentioned that it is an unusually large lot, 2 to 3 houses type of lot. And then I guess one of the things is, what is the point of building codes when proposed variance changes are being approved, right? So that's one of the things that just doesn't make any sense to me, I guess, from a personal level. Again, one of the things that kind of heard from the conversation is the fact that they're assuming that I don't have a views because I have a tree that is actually going to be trimmed down significantly by Madison Tree. Again, he acknowledged the whole large lot where we think that the property could actually be built within the boundaries of the lot. And the whole parking excuses, right? That's one of the things that you're taking away parking from the actual street. Just because you're adding a 4-car garage does not mean you're doing something or a service for the neighborhood. You're actually taking spaces away from others, right? Visitors, and that's that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I stand in terms of opposing the variance changes, or I guess approval.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Beck, I'll give you a chance to respond briefly, but just on the more administrative side to Mr. Espina, the notice requirements are all written into our code where we send them out 2 weeks prior to the notice. That's how it's been done for a very long time. And if there were to be any changes that were made to the noticing requirements, it's something that would need to happen at a council level. And so it's out of our control here in terms of the administration. The reason these variance hearings exist, I think put most simply, is just that, like, it, especially in a city like Cincinnati with different topography all over the city, that one size doesn't, in terms of a building code, does not always, or a zoning code in this case, does not always fit every project or every property. A lot of these properties in the city were platted, designed, and houses built over 120 years ago. And so the variance process is an opportunity for particular homes and particular properties that present unique circumstances that call for some relief from the strict application of the zoning code. And so that's why this process exists. Having said that, though, the burden is on the applicant to show that there are practical difficulties that make it impossible or very difficult for them to strictly meet the zoning code and still take advantage of some of their property rights. So that's just my spiel on why this process exists, and so I'll turn it over to Mr. Back now to comment on some of your other comments. So, Mr. Back, did you want to respond to anything that you heard from Mr. Espina?
Yes, I'd like to make a few comments. This weekend, we had a surveyor shoot the elevation of his roof deck, which I'm assuming that's where what he's referring from the view, which there's on the third floor, there's a roof deck on the front of the house. So we have the elevation at the front of that roof deck, and I added 5 foot to that elevation, which would put you about eye level. And I have the plans from the original house, so I know the exact elevation within 6 inches of what eye level is on that roof deck. And you look in on the existing plans, the house that's there right now, that elevation eye level looks there's where it hits on the existing house. I don't know if you can see this thing, but I got a
If you
line.
pull it back a little.
It's kind of hard to tell what you're referring to, I guess.
But that's where that elevation eye level hits on the existing house. It's not close to being, it hits right above the second floor, in the lower part of the roofs of the existing house. And on our proposed house, it hits right at the ceiling. That elevation hits on the front of the house, which hits right at the ceiling of the second floor of our existing house. It's lower than the third floor. I mean, it's lower than it doesn't, that 3-foot height variance makes no difference. I don't know either.
So yeah, that's Mr. Beck. That's a little.
You can,
That's difficult.
I don't
to
know.
see.
But it hits that elevation of eye level from his roof terrace hits right at below the third floor of our house. It's not, the 3-foot doesn't get it below there. And I think from the hillside ordinance, the requirements of building on the hillside, how the hillside, we step the house up with the hillside, with the stability, how we're doing things to protect the stability of the lot. And the requirements of the hillside, I think we meet. I think the only view requirement in the hillside ordinance is that we don't interfere with any public viewing spaces. But both the proposed house and the existing house are higher than eye level from his roof deck. And once again, as I said earlier, we could go with a pitch roof on this thing, side to side, and our roof, the ridge of our roof would be higher than what we're proposing with a flat roof. And we wouldn't need a variance. We could do a pitch roof on this thing, and then the ridge of the roof with a pitch roof would be higher, and we wouldn't need a variance even for height, which I think he would like less. I think everybody in the area would like less. The neighbors, everybody would like less than us going with a flat.
Mr. Beck, I wanted to make one proposal or option available here, based on Mr. Espina's comments about not having time to look at this and not being met with. I mean, would you like to take an opportunity to meet with Mr. Espina and talk about the plans in more detail, like you did with some of the other neighbors, before I rule on this?
We'd be glad to.
Okay, and I can put this back on anytime. Like we could continue this in progress, and I could put it back on anytime to give you an opportunity and Mr. Espina an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the project.
In fact,
Sometimes.
yeah.
What's that?
No, in fact, Dennis, we saw you across the street. I think it was on Friday. We were trying to approach you, but by the time we were trying to approach you, you left. So we did want to talk to you before the actual hearing.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about that.
I
stuck around.
No, we saw you. We saw you talking to a different couple, so we didn't want to interrupt. But I think that would be ideal. I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a homeowner that is an engineer at GE, and I can't really. It was hard for me to see what Mr. Begg was actually, showing within the screens, and it was kind of hard to.
Could you start your video up for us?
Sure. Yeah. like I said, I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I do work at GE, but this is not my forte in a sense that it was kind of hard for me to see what he was referring to in terms of the actual variant for the height as well as width. And yeah, from one point of view, yes, if you look straight at the Brown house, yes, you're right. There is a pitch roof that's somewhat blocked, but if you go to the left, where the tree is actually not blocking, which eventually is going to come down, it does have much greater view of the actual river as well as downtown.
Well,
But
give me 1 second here, Mr. Espina. It sounds like maybe Mr. Back and Mr. Green might be willing to try to explain this project in more detail to you, either in person or through some other means before we actually finish the hearing. Mr. Back, is that something that you would be interested in doing?
We'd be glad to. We're sorry we didn't meet with you earlier.
Okay. How much time?
We did meet with the neighbors on both sides, so we would be glad to meet
Yeah,
when you're available.
So let me real quick just tell you guys how that process would work. I know that I think Mr. Back has done this before, but essentially we would just pause the hearing right now, and then I would put it on for whatever date you all think would give you enough time to have that conversation. And then as soon as you've had that conversation, we'll come back and we'll just continue the hearing in progress where we were. No additional fees or anything else is required. And then I'll make a decision after Mr. Espina has had an opportunity to understand what the project is a little bit better. Does that sound like something you're okay with? Okay, Mr. Espina, would you be willing to meet with them to talk more about this?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was actually surprised that I was not approached for it. So,
okay.
I do have travels coming up outside the country starting on Sunday, and I'm pretty busy until then. And I won't be back. And this is for you, Dennis. I won't be back until the 14th of November.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean, we could come over now, or we can set it for tomorrow.
Is it possible for us to exchange numbers and then maybe you could text back and forth? I do have a pretty busy work schedule. I just want to make sure that it's not an interrupting that. I'm not trying to delay anything. I just want to make sure I cover my bases when it comes down to work.
Do you have any time on Friday or Saturday?
Fridays I'll be picking up my kids. I could take a look at my calendar. Which is unusual for me to have a busy Friday, but I may be able to do something at 1 o'clock on Friday.
That's fine. That's fine with us if that works for you.
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll block my calendar and we can meet then.
Okay. In terms of rescheduling the hearing, Mr. Back, do you have a preference?
Well, we need to do it after Tomas gets back.
Right.
So he's going to be gone, I think, till the 14th.
Yeah, so 2 weeks from today is the 15th. That's my normal hearing day. I'm happy to put it on for that day.
Thomas, how does that work for you?
That works okay. That's fine.
That works for us.
Okay. All right. I will put it on and I'll have Cassandra email everybody an updated invitation that reflects the new hearing time. And Mr. Espina, I was going to say, if you're happy to put something in writing, I know you'll be just returning from travel. If you're not able to attend the hearing, you can always put something in writing for me to consider in lieu of testimony if that is more convenient for you based on your travel plans.
Okay.
But of course, we'd love to have you at the hearing if you're available on the 15th. That'll likely be around 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Tomas, we'll plan on Friday the 1 o'clock.